President Donald Trump has said Iran is negotiating with the U.S., adding that Washington cannot disclose military plans with Gulf allies while talks are ongoing. Tehran has confirmed that a framework for talks is being established. Iran stresses that a war is in neither side's interest, but remains on high alert for a possible attack. Isan Kivani has more on Iran's stance.
It seems that the reason behind such a comment is that since the United States moved its warships towards the Persian Gulf region, Iran clearly stated that multiple times, in fact, this time the situation is totally different. In previous occasions, including the 12-day war in June last year when Iran was hit by the United States, the reactions were symbolic and coordinated with prior notice to minimize the American casualties. But this time Iran says as soon as it is attacked, the response will include vast and heavy attacks against all the American military bases in the region with maximum destruction power. Naturally, countries hosting the American military bases in the Persian Gulf would not be happy about that. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has not made any comments yet about the recent developments during the past few days. On Saturday morning, he visited the shrine of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, Iran's first supreme leader and the founder of the 1979 Islamic Revolution. But here is what President Pezeshkian and the army chief had to say.
Whether Trump, whether Netanyahu, whether the Europeans, all of them sought to provoke, create division and arm. And they brought a number of innocent people along with this current and poured them into the streets and incited them that this country must be torn to pieces to create conflict and hatred among the people, to create division.
We are at a high level of military and defensive readiness. We are closely watching our enemies' movement in the region. They are under complete surveillance by us. And since we are aware of their evil intentions, our fingers are on the trigger. If they make a mistake, without doubt they will endanger their security, the security of their forces, the security of the Middle East, and the security of the Israeli regime.
As tensions escalate in the Middle East, Iran, Egypt and Qatar are advocating for diplomatic de-escalation, while Saudi Arabia reportedly is pushing for U.S. strikes with clear plans. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi have spoken over the phone to discuss the diplomatic resolution of regional issues. Pezeshkian stressed that Iran has never sought war and prioritizes dignity-based diplomacy. Al-Sisi expressed commitment to de-escalation efforts and warned that rising tensions could harm the region. Meanwhile, top Iranian official Ali Larijani has met with Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed in Tehran. Mohammed said Qatar supports de-escalating regional tensions through peaceful means. Sources have also revealed that Saudi Arabia's Minister of Defense, Prince Khalid bin Salman, warned U.S. officials that Iran would become bolder and more reckless if Trump did not order strikes against it. He also urged Washington to formulate clear plans and objectives before taking any action. Israel has partially reopened the Rafah crossing with Egypt, Gaza's lifeline and gateway to the outside world. The crossing had been closed since spring 2024, shortly after Israel took control of it. Limited pedestrian traffic from the Gaza side will be allowed under heavy security and screening. As of Sunday, Egypt is coordinating efforts to transport injured Palestinians for medical care in the first phase of the reopening. Ambulances have been waiting on the Egyptian side of the border since the early morning. Details remain unclear, such as the number of people who can cross or if all those wishing to return to Gaza will be allowed back in. However, Israeli attacks continue in the Strip, with Gaza Civil Defense Agency reporting at least 52 Palestinians killed in Israeli airstrikes on Saturday. Rami Al-Meghari reports from Khan Yunis in Gaza.
Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, the whole Gaza Strip, wake up today to 29 Palestinians killed, including many of them are women and children, and multiple airstrikes, Israeli airstrikes on different various locations in the Gaza Strip. We are here in one of the locations where an Israeli airstrike hit actually a tent in the Khan Yunis area of Mawasi in south of the territory, where 7 members of the same Hadayid family here in the Mawasi area of Khan Yunis were killed, including 2 fathers, their children, and actually their father, an elderly man. This is one of the deadliest Israeli airstrikes on the territory. Other airstrikes hit the Sheikh Radwan neighborhood in Gaza City, where a Hamas-run police station was hit, and 3 police women were killed, and other detainees also were killed, and others were injured. Another strike hit a home in the Abbas neighborhood in western Gaza City, where a woman and her 2 children were killed. Other strikes hit other parts of the territory, including sites and locations that Israel says belong to Hamas and the territory. And this situation comes against the backdrop of an Israeli army statement suggesting that 8 members of the armed resistance were reported to have gone out of an underground and tunnel, considering this as a breach of the ceasefire. Hamas, from its part, also considers Israeli actions in the territory today as also a breach of the ceasefire, and reflects Israel's unwillingness to go into the second phase of the ceasefire that is to begin on Sunday with the reopening of the Rafah crossing terminal. Rami Al-Mighari, CGTN, in Khan Yunis City, south of the Gaza Strip.
And we will have more for you on the reopening of the Rafah border crossing in our Africa Live show coming up shortly. Now, the Syrian government has struck a deal with Kurdish-led forces after weeks of fighting. Residents are hopeful that the deal could bring long-awaited stability, but questions remain over its implementation. Michal Badavid has the details.
A step toward reunifying the country. Syria's government and the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces have reached an agreement aimed at bringing SDF-controlled areas back under state authority. Under the deal, Interior Ministry security forces are expected to deploy to the northeastern cities of Hasaka and Kamishli. The agreement also outlines a restructuring of military forces. A new division will be formed incorporating 3 SDF brigades alongside a separate brigade made up of fighters from Kobani, which will be administratively linked to Aleppo province.
This agreement marks the end of the presence of non-state armed actors on Syrian soil and affirms that weapons will be held exclusively by the state. It is a continuation of the integration process that began last year. Anyone who wishes to defend Syria, protect its land, its dignity, and its people can do so through national military and security institutions.
Officials say the process will roll out gradually, acknowledging that implementation on the ground may face some challenges.
We have given the SDF leadership a deadline to demonstrate in practice that all armed groups will comply with this agreement and the integration process. Once integration is completed, any armed or undisciplined groups that refuse to adhere to the agreement will be treated as outlaw groups.
While many Syrians believe the deal creates a chance to preserve unity, others feel important details remain unclear.
This agreement is very important for Syria's future. It helps preserve the unity of the country, which is something all Syrians aspire to, a Syria that is united and free of division. It also means that all Syrians can enjoy equal rights and live together in one unified society.
The terms of the agreement are still not fully clear. The implementation mechanism and the timeline remain uncertain, and there are many unanswered questions. But what matters most is that the Syrian state regains sovereignty over all of its territory.
The agreement has attracted international attention. U.S. officials have welcomed it as an important step towards stability, while Turkey says it is closely examining the terms, emphasizing that meaningful integration will be crucial. The coming days will determine whether both sides can translate the deal into lasting reality. Michal Mardavid, CGTN.
Uruguayan President Yamandu Orsi has arrived in Beijing for a state visit to China. CGTN's Cao Chufen has more.
Uruguay's President Yamandu Orsi has arrived at the Beijing Capital International Airport, beginning a 7-day state visit to China at the invitation of Chinese President Xi Jinping. This marks his first visit to China since taking office in 2025 and makes him the first Latin American head of the state to visit China in 2026. During the trip, Orsi is expected to visit both Beijing and Shanghai. In Beijing, he will meet Chinese President Xi Jinping. China's foreign ministry said that the two leaders will exchange views on deepening the China-Uruguay comprehensive strategic partnership, advancing high-quality Belt and Road cooperation, and discussing international and regional issues of shared concern. In Shanghai, Orsi will meet local officials and take part in a series of business-related events. Uruguayan media report that around 150 delegates are accompanying the president, including roughly around 100 business leaders. China has been Uruguay's largest trading partner for over a decade, though the two countries have yet to sign a free trade agreement. Therefore, strengthening economic cooperation is a key focus of this visit. Education and technology cooperation also feature prominently, with reports indicating that new agreements will be signed between universities, research institutions, and technology companies. Overall, Orsi's visit is widely expected to deliver tangible outcomes and further deepen bilateral ties between the two countries across different fields. Cao Chufen, CGTN, Beijing.
And that is it for this edition of The World Today. I'll be back shortly with more news from the continent in Africa Live. Thanks for watching. We take you to the Egyptian side of the Gaza border as Israel partially reopens the Rafah crossing. Search and recovery efforts continue in DRC's Rubaya region after mine collapse kills over 200 people. And the UN says nearly 400,000 people displaced by floods in Mozambique and are facing dire conditions. I'm Beatrice Marshall in Nairobi. Welcome to Africa Live. Also ahead on the program, Lagos Technology Summit showcases tech-driven innovations for real-world challenges. And in sports, we'll bring you the latest from this weekend's CAF Champions League group matches across Africa. Israel has partially reopened the Rafah crossing with Egypt, Gaza's lifeline and gateway to the outside world. It had been closed since spring of 2024, shortly after Israel took control of it. Limited pedestrian traffic from the Gaza side will be allowed under heavy security and screening. In the first phase of the reopening on Sunday, Egypt is coordinating efforts to transport injured Palestinians for medical care. Ambulances have been waiting on the Egyptian side of the border since the early morning. But details remain unclear, including the number of people who can cross or if all those wishing to return to Gaza will be allowed back in. Meanwhile, Israeli attacks continue in the Strip, with Gaza Civil Defense Agency reporting dozens of Palestinians killed in Israeli airstrikes on Saturday. Let's cross over to CGTN's Yasser Hakim, joining us live from Al Arish city near the Egypt-Gaza border. Yasser, so what's the latest on the partial reopening of the Rafah border crossing?
Well, what happened is that from early morning, the ambulances from Egyptian side have gathered in front of the gate, the Rafah border gate, waiting for the green light to enter the Rafah border from the Palestinian side and receive those injured and sick Palestinians who need urgent treatment. But until now, it has not opened yet for the movement itself. But what's happening is that throughout the day there is a lot of inside organizational work being happening, the coordination work between the EU team, the Palestinian team, the Egyptians and the Israeli security apparatus to coordinate the system and the mechanism that will be put in place starting tomorrow when it's officially opened on Monday. So for a few hours now, it's a waiting game until all the preparations are ready within the system itself, inside, behind the scenes. And once that's ready, maybe in a few hours, the gates will be open, and the priority is for the injured Palestinians to leave Gaza into Egypt. Egypt says that there are hundreds, around 300 hospitals around the country waiting on high alert to receive the Palestinian injured Palestinians. According to the Egyptian authorities, 20,000 Palestinians have registered. Those are the injured and sick alone. 20,000 have registered to enter Egypt to be treated. Some of them will be treated here in Al Arish city, the hospital. There are 4 hospitals here, one big one and small, and 3 small ones. And other cases, if they're more sophisticated, they will go to other cities like in Cairo or even abroad. As for the Palestinians who want to leave Egypt and return to Gaza, according to the Palestinian authorities, 80,000 Palestinians want to return home to Gaza. However, like you said a while ago, Beatrice, that the numbers are still uncertain. We are talking, we're listening to sources saying it's in the range of 150 to 200 Palestinians per day will be leaving and coming back. There's differences between Egypt and Israel on that part. Israel says 50 will leave Egypt into Gaza and 150 will leave Gaza into Egypt. Right. While Cairo says that it wants the equal number from both sides to enter.
Right, so Yasser, we do know that limited aid trucks have been crossing in the hundreds each day, but do explain to us what will be different after this reopening.
No, the 8 trucks is a different story, and unfortunately, although Egypt has been haggling and trying to push for more 8 trucks to enter Gaza, according with the reopening of the border, but Israel has refused. It has said that this reopening is only limited to pedestrians and civilians. As for the 8 trucks, in the past few months since the ceasefire agreement that was signed in October in Sharm el-Sheikh, the U.S. led ceasefire agreement, only around 100, average of 100 trucks per day enter Gaza. And that's supposed to be 600, according to the agreement, from 600 to 1,000. And Israel has only allowed 100, an average of 100 a day. And that's extremely low number. It does not cover any needs for the Palestinians, who need, like I said, according to the UN, from 600 to 1,000 a day. So Egypt has been negotiating with Israel and the US to try to reach that number, 600, 700 at least a day, with the reopening of the border. But we haven't heard anything new about that. From the Israeli side, they said all things remain as it is concerning the 8 trucks. It will remain at this number. Egypt is hoping that it can push that number forward. Back to you.
Right. So, Yasser, so what are some of the biggest steps now remaining in the Israel-Palestinian ceasefire process after this reopening?
Well, believe it or not, the first phase we're talking about now, with all the haggling and all the sticking points between Egypt, Israel, and the Palestinians, it should be the easiest phase, the first phase that has just ended. The second phase, which is the opening of the Rafah border crossing, has more complicated issues, such as the disarming of Hamas and the reconstruction of Gaza. Now, the sticking points for the disarming of Hamas is that Hamas feels that the guarantees provided by the US of the safety of the Hamas members after disarming are not enough, and that Israel does not comply to any of the agreements that it has signed. For example, just yesterday or last night, more than 30 people, around 40 people were killed, all civilians, women and children, by Israel. And that's a major violation of the ceasefire agreement. So the Palestinian side is asking for guarantees that Israel will control the second, or will abide by the agreement and the second phase. And that is to maintain the safety of the Hamas group once they disarm. The second part is the reconstruction of Gaza. Israel says it will not allow the reconstruction of Gaza until Hamas leaves. And Hamas said it doesn't want to leave until it guarantees its safety. So even the reconstruction part might not go ahead until the disarming part begins. So it's a kind of a complicated issue that will need a lot of negotiations, a lot of talks between the mediators, obviously Egypt and Qatar, and Turkey as well, with the US, Israel, and Palestinian side, to try to get this whole process moving. Obviously, it is sponsored by the United States, and the US President Donald Trump seems to be adamant that it continues successfully. But until now, we're going to see if actually this will happen, because from the first phase and all the complications, it is the easiest one. It wasn't easy. So the Palestinians hope the second one will go smoothly, so they'll be allowed to go back to their homes, they'll be allowed to rebuild the country, and that the ceasefire actually holds on and no more killings in the next few months. Back
all
to you.
right, Yasser Hakim joining us there from Al Arish city near the Egypt-Gaza border. Now let's head to the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where search and rescue efforts continue after a mine collapsed in Rubaya, some 60 kilometers northwest of Goma. According to an M23 rebel spokesperson, at least 200 people were killed, including women and children, and about 20 survivors were being treated at local health facilities. The incident occurred on Wednesday after heavy rains led to a landslide that gave way to the coltan mine under M23 control since 2024. According to the UN, Rubaya mines alone are estimated to account for about 15% of the global coltan supply, which is processed into tantalum for global electronics. And earlier on, we spoke to our correspondent Jafar Al-Katani, who is based in Goma.
The information is so bad because many people have been killed and others still missing till now in the city of Rubaya. As you know, Rubaya is one of the important and biggest mining site of coltan in the eastern DRC, where more than 1,000 of people work every day. And last night, there was a problem with a lot of rains who causes that landslide. And till now, we still don't have the real records because many people, including even children, were around the mine and they are still missing. That's another problem. The way to Rubaya from Goma is not good. And in this rain season, I don't expect that any help will arrive in Rubaya sooner. Because can you imagine, the drama was on Friday and it's in the evening of yesterday that we knew here in Goma, while from Rubaya to Goma is just 60 kilometers. The first problem is the lack of communication because the zone of North Kivu had a problem of internet and mobile phone service, except the city of Goma, which is served, but all other villages doesn't have network. So the communication between Rubaya and Goma is different. It is difficult from giving any information to see or to know how and when the rescue teams will arrive in Rubaya is impossible for now.
The UN has estimated that close to 400,000 people have been forcibly displaced in Mozambique following catastrophic flooding. The number, it says, adds on to other displacements caused by conflict and previous extreme weather conditions. As a result of the catastrophes, the UN Refugee Agency says many families are experiencing their third forced relocation in recent years. It warns that conditions for those displaced are severe and assistance remains insufficient due to the lack of basic services. Mozambique's Institute for Disaster Management and Risk Reduction says 103 people have died as a result of the heavy rains that began in mid-December. Aid agencies are now warning of cholera and other waterborne disease outbreaks, especially in displacement camps. The World Weather Attribution Group says climate change and La Nina have fueled such intense rainfall that some regions received over a year's rain in just days.
Close to 400,000 people have been forcibly displaced. It's another forced displacement crisis for Mozambique. Last year, in the last semester, 300,000 were already displaced by the armed conflict. You imagine what 700,000 newly displaced means for a country like Mozambique, whether it's the result of extreme weather events or whether it's the result of the armed conflict. People had to flee under chaotic conditions after sometimes staying days and days on the roof of their house, waiting for rescue operations.
The UN Secretary General has warned against escalation in the Tigray region of Ethiopia after renewed clashes were reported there this week. Antonio Guterres called on all parties to exercise restraint and resolve differences through peaceful dialogue. He reiterated the UN's readiness to work with the African Union and regional partners to help consolidate peace. This comes 3 years after a peace deal that ended a civil war between the army and the Tigray People's Liberation Front. Flights into Tigray remain cancelled and residents are fearing the worst as they struggle to get emergency funds from local banks. You're watching Africa Live. Still ahead, we'll see how climate change and competition are contributing to deadly clashes between farmers and herders in Nigeria. Let's now turn to Nigeria, where simmering tensions between farmers and herders or pastoralists are never far from boiling over. Thousands of people have died in clashes and conflict over the past 2 decades as both sides vie for an ever-increasing amount of land and resources for reasons such as a rising population and climate change. The government has implemented some policies aimed at resolving the issue, but as Tese Makende tells us, its complexities mean it may take some time before they see any success.
Herder Lukman Adam is out with his cattle in search of pasture. Nearby are crop farmers who are watching him closely, making sure he doesn't try to move into their land. It's an age-old problem across central Nigeria and one which often turns bloody. When it comes to finding solutions, both sides feel they are being misunderstood and mistreated.
Both the government and farmers are against us. Even when farmers clearly go against us, we are always seen to be the problem. We can't continue like that. We must love ourselves if this country has to develop.
A lot of my relatives have been killed by herders. I relocated from Mango to this community. I had to lease this land to cultivate my crops. Let the herders adopt the same approach.
According to Nigeria's House of Representatives, more than 60,000 lives have been lost in the struggle since 2001. The problem is not only taking lives and ruining families, it has also reduced food cultivation, where suitable grazing land has been eroded.
There are both human factors and natural factors. A lot of arable lands where herders have to graze are no longer grazable because we have less land where you can get good grasses for them to graze, and they have to look for a place to graze. The type of herders we have in the country are people that move around. They don't ranch. We also have issues of migration.
In 2024, several communities saw increased conflict between crop farmers and cattle herders, leading to the deaths of over 400 people. Last year, cattle breeders in the country said over 4 million cattle belonging to them were rustled in the last 10 years and about 15,000 of their members killed. Agriculture experts say the government needs to introduce measures such as abolishing open grazing and introduce and enforce ranching, which according to them is the best practice globally.
We should value lives. That's another solution, which we should actually have a shift of ideology. You find in developed worlds, you hardly will see anyone grazing around, moving around, graze just because they want their animals to graze. They should buy into ranching.
The government says it is taking steps to resolve the issue. It has established a new Ministry for Livestock Development to oversee and manage the sector, introducing approaches that will mitigate crises between cattle herders and crop farmers. Authorities say they are putting together initiatives to introduce better breeds of cattle to herders, sustainable pasture cultivation procedures, and ranching against their nomadic lifestyles, which is prone to conflict. But it could take time before these measures take effect. Tessim Akende, CGTN Jos, Nigeria.
In Kenya's fast-paced digital world, a platform once largely known for viral dances and short skits is now changing lives in very real ways. TikTok is increasingly becoming a space where desperation meets empathy and where ordinary Kenyans are stepping in to help strangers they have never met and may never meet. It's a story of online kindness, collective action, and how social media is quietly redefining community support in Kenya. CGTN's Enoxikolia reports.
It's a busy afternoon for Harriet Akinyi as she welcomes customers to her restaurant. The doors are wide open, the kitchen is alive, and the tables are full. Yet, just a few days ago, it was all very different. This place was on the brink of closure due to deaths and a poor footfall.
Oh, guys, I've tried holding it in.
With nowhere else to go, Harriet turned to TikTok with the hope of getting some support.
I made that video out of frustration and hopelessness because my situation had gotten to a point where it was hopeless. I could not afford to pay my employees. I could not afford to do quite a number of things or to run the business. I had run out of working capital completely. I didn't know that that was going to be my saving grace.
She didn't have to wait long. Within hours, her appeal had gone viral and support, emotional and financial, began to pour in. Even people who lived nearby came in. She says she wasn't surprised by the reaction.
That was the moment when Kenyans came through for me. God used Kenyans to come through for me, and I'm grateful for that, because now, as I am where I am right now, I'm no longer selling the business at 150,000 like I had mentioned before.
And yet stories like Harriet's are becoming increasingly common in Kenya. TikTok, once associated with dance challenges and comedy skits, is rapidly reshaping its identity here. Geoffrey Musiria, a chief officer at Nairobi City County Government, says the platform is now emerging as a powerful decentralized tool for community fundraising and grassroots charity. Backed by his more than 1.8 million TikTok followers, Musiria says he has on several occasions successfully raised funds for people in need. He remembers how he helped generate more than $2,000 to aid a sick lady in need of medical care.
She couldn't walk. She used to go on long calls, short calls inside her room, single room, using a packet. But right now, she lives decently. She can walk. She has healed. It's a testimony.
Musiria says TikTok has changed how people help each other. In his own words, one doesn't need a big organization anymore.
It's how you use it. To me, I feel it's a resource that we can use to mobilize resources to help others.
Musiria is among many Kenyan TikTokers who use their platform to highlight needy cases, whether it's medical bills, school fees, or small businesses like Harriet's. In a time when social media is often criticized for creating division and spreading misinformation, platforms like TikTok are quietly shaping a different trajectory. Enoxikolia, CGTN.
Well, let's now take a look at your business news. Here's what's ahead. Lagos Technology Summit showcases tech-driven innovation for real-world challenges. And WTO panel rules U.S. clean energy subsidies violate global trade rules.
You don't find the stories of North Africa by sitting on the sidelines. You've got to get out, go there, and you'll find them. In the bazaars of Casablanca, among the crowds in Cairo,
who come to visit Cairo, the ancient capital of Egypt.
Along the waters of the Nile, along the sands of the Sahara. No one else will take you where we can in North Africa. No one else will show you what it's all about. CGTN, see the difference.
Africa's technology conversation is often louder on ambition than execution. At this year's Tech Revolution, Africa in Lagos, there was a major effort to change that, as founders and technology companies showed how their solutions are already being deployed to solve real problems. CGTN's Dejibade Mosi has more.
It's one of Africa's largest gatherings on tech, and it brings together stakeholders from across the world for a deep dive into how new technology is making a difference in Africa.
You're talking about 120 milliseconds.
From artificial intelligence and energy to data platforms, companies showcase how technology is already being applied to resolve real business and social challenges. Theme The Big Bold Step, the real action at the second edition of Tech Revolution Africa unfolded on the exhibition floor, where founders and technology companies demonstrated how their products are being deployed in real-world environments. For many of them, innovation here is not theoretical, it's operational. One of those companies is Subify, a Nigerian-founded platform focused on simplifying access to digital tools and services for businesses and individuals by bringing people together and allowing them pay a fraction of the original amount needed for a service. The company says its solution is designed to remove barriers, particularly cost and accessibility, that prevent many Africans from fully participating in the digital economy.
So the way it works is that I sign up on usesubify.com. That's USESUBIFY.com. When you sign up on usesubify.com, you see the split verse where all subscription services are available, irrespective of the subscription service you want. When you see any of these services, you fund your wallet, and then you click on Join Group. When you click on Join Group, the email invitation will be there for you. When you click on it, you join the subscription that you have available to join. Now, where I see this in the next five years is that I see us with strong African footprint. By the next 5 years, I expect us to be in 20 African countries.
Energy is another critical focus. At Our Power, the emphasis is on technology-driven smart home products designed to make living easier for people.
So we have our latest invention, which is called the Our Charge Power Bank Rental Station. So basically, it's a station that holds power banks. So you go there and you can rent a power bank on the go when you're outside of your living area. So each power bank has a GPS that tracks your movement, and also you have to pay refundable deposits. So that deposit serves like an insurance. So when you return the power bank, your deposit is returned back to you automatically in less than 5 minutes.
Liga Data, a data and analytics company, says its focus is on helping large organizations turn complex data into usable insight, particularly in sectors like telecommunications, banking, and government.
We are serving probably about 400 million customers in total today. We operate in about 35 countries, and proudly been operating in the African market for the last decade.
For these founders, Tech Revolution Africa is less about announcements and more about visibility, an opportunity to show how African-built solutions are already addressing African problems, one system at a time. Deji Badimasi, CGTN, Lagos, Nigeria.
The World Trade Organization has ruled in favor of China in its dispute against the U.S. over clean energy subsidies introduced under the former Joe Biden administration. A WTO panel says the U.S. measures violate WTO rules, calling for their withdrawal. China's Ministry of Commerce has voiced appreciation for what it calls an objective and fair ruling. The ministry reiterates that China has always been a firm defender of WTO rules and the International Economic and Trade Order. It urges the U.S. to respect the ruling and correct its practices. A legal expert says the outcome signifies important implications for the global clean energy sector.
Vision of this subsidy is contingent upon the use of domestic over imported goods. Those goods may include iron and steel products and other components used for the construction of clean energy facilities. If the U.S. could respect the recommendation of the panel by withdrawing the measure in dispute, that would create a level playing field for global clean energy market. The finding of this panel also set up a warning benchmark for all WTO members in developing their clean energy industries. This would help stabilize global market expectations.
Iran's economy is facing renewed pressure amid escalating tensions with the U.S. The national currency has plummeted to record lows in just a few days, driving prices higher and squeezing household budgets. Sefia Saremi reports from Tehran.
Iran's economy is showing clear signs of a strain as rising geopolitical tensions unsettle markets and erode public confidence. In just 5 days, the Iranian rial dropped sharply, sliding from about 141,000 tomans to nearly 160,000 tomans per US dollar, making one of its steepest declines in recent months. Gold prices have also climbed to record highs, intensifying fears over inflation and the rising cost of living.
Everything is becoming more expensive, and it's putting a lot of pressure on us. As prices rise, we have less work, goods cost more, and we have fewer customers.
Everything has become more expensive. Even in chain stores, prices have gone up by around 30%.
For many Iranians, the weakening currency is more than a headline. its daily reality, shaping jobs, purchasing power, and basic living costs. To better understand why Iran's economy continues to face deep challenges despite recent policy measures, I spoke with Iran's former Minister of Economy, Ehsan Khandouzi.
In my view, the macroeconomic decisions needed for the country are clear. You cannot view Iran's economic indicators over the past 8 months as part of a long-term trend. That's because during this period, we have witnessed 2 unprecedented events in the past 40 years.
I also asked whether recent sanctions, particularly targeting Iran's oil and banking sectors, could place even further pressure on the economy.
The sanctions list against Iran, covering both banking and oil, is already so extensive that there are hardly any meaningful measures left to raise pressure further. In practice, there are almost no new options to make the sanctions regime more complete.
As tensions rise and markets respond almost instantly, uncertainty continues to weigh heavily on daily life. For many Iranians, the hope is that economic stability and calmer political conditions can return before the pressure becomes even more difficult to bear. Seper Salami, CGTN, Tehran.
China's 2026 Spring Festival travel rush will officially begin on Monday. Over 51 million train tickets have been sold since sales began on January the 19th. Shanghai Railway is anticipating a record high of nearly 16.8 passenger trips this year, an annual increase of 5.7 to 8%. Transport authorities have rolled out measures ahead of the travel rush. Fujian province has added multiple trains and upgraded smart train services. In Yunnan province, Honghe railway station now offers free charging points and defibrillators, with the staff receiving first aid training. Hainan province is preparing for its first Spring Festival rush since implementing an island-wide special customs operations. Airlines have increased their capacity in anticipation of a travel boom driven by a new duty-free policy. This year's Spring Festival travel rush will run from February the 2nd to March the 13th. Officials have estimated inter-regional passenger trips will reach a record high of 9.5 billion. Your sports news coming up next. Here's what's ahead. We'll bring the latest from this weekend's CAF Champions League group matches across Africa.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find your game.
And we begin with the CAF Champions League, where match day 4 of the group stage continues. Egyptian giant Al Ahly were held to a 1-1 draw by Tanzanian champions Young Africans at the Amani Stadium in Zanzibar on Saturday. Ibrahim Baka gave Young Africans the lead just before half-time, but Aliou Dieng equalized for Al Ahly on the hour mark. In another Group B match, AS FAR of Morocco beat Algerian side JS Kabylie 1-0 to break the group wide open. In Group D, Angola's Petro de Luanda shared the spoils against Stade Malien. Egypt's Pyramids FC and Morocco's RS Berkane are set for a major clash on Sunday in their Group A meeting. Speaking ahead of the match, both coaches said familiarity could shape the contest, with these marking their third meeting in less than a year. Pyramids claimed the Africa Super Cup in their first encounter before the two sides were drawn together again in the CAF Champions League group stage.
I expect one tough match. We are ready, all players. We don't have any injured players. We played 7 days ago one very difficult match. I expect the same very difficult match. But I can repeat, we are ready. What we made last year was very special because we made big things in Africa and we made a good job here in Egypt. Just like the first leg, this match will be difficult as well. It will be highly tactical. It's the third match between us in a short time. We played in the Super Cup, which means the two teams know each other well. Each team has points of strength and weakness. Sometimes match is focused on limited parts of that. In the last match, we had the opportunity to win, so did Pyramids. In such matches, we don't get many chances to score, especially when the two teams know each other. But we will try to maximize on our strength and try to exploit Pyramids' weak points.
In other Sunday CAF Champions League fixtures, Nigerian champions River United are at home to Power Dynamos of Zambia in the other game in Group A. In Group C, St. Eloi Lupopo of the DR Congo visit bottom side MC Algeria. And Tanzanian heavyweight Simba welcome four-time winners Esperance of Tunisia to Zanzibar in Group D. Meanwhile, Congolese side St. Eloi Lupopo said they are not traveling to Algeria for tourism in their Group C match, where they hope to get a positive result. MC Algeria is still searching for its first win in the group, while Lupopo have already collected 4 points. Victory for the visitors could lift them into second place.
We are determined to respond well during this match because we know it is a very important game that will allow us to really take off in this competition. So we are not really making calculations. We have to take the 3 points. We must be ready in all aspects of the game. With our home crowd, we know we are capable of doing great things.
MC Alger is a good team. We are not even going to look at the standings because they remain a good team. Both teams know each other better now after our last game. So it's going to be a very good match. We must be focused, determined, and be brave.
In the CAF Confederations Cup, Africa's second-tier club competition, Kenyan debutants Nairobi United face an uphill battle in their bid to qualify for the knockout round. They play Azam FC in Zanzibar today, still looking for their first point. The Nairobis have lost 3 in a row, including a 2-1 home reverse when the sides met earlier in Group B. However, all is not yet lost, as head coach Salim Ali hopes that a positive result in Zanzibar can be the start of a late revival.
Looking history of Nairobi United, we played against NEC away, which we scored 2 goals. We played against Etoile away. Played very well. Of course, we won through penalties, but played very well. When we played against Wydad, of course, we got 2 goals which we are being denied. So it shows very well that Nairobi United, if they play away, they have that self-confidence, which is very good on the players. So I believe even again on Sunday, it's away match, they'll give 101%.
In the English Premier League, Arsenal restored their 7 points lead at the top of the table with a commanding 4-0 victory over Leeds United. Mikel Arteta's side arrived at Elland Road under pressure following last weekend's home defeat to Manchester United, but responded in emphatic fashion on Saturday. Martin Zubimendi opened the scoring before an own goal by goalkeeper Carl Dallo doubled the advantage. Victor Gyökeres and Gabriel Jesus added second-half goals to seal a comfortable win. Arsenal's closest title challengers Manchester City and Aston Villa are both in action on Sunday.
Happy, obviously. A very impressive performance, a very impressive result. And in the context that we've done it, we knew about the difficulty of the game and the opponent that we're facing with the recent form and the style of play that they have at the moment, the energy that the stadium brings. And then the fact that after 3 results that didn't go our way in the league, we really wanted to show how much we wanted it. And I think we certainly done that today.
In other results on Saturday, Chelsea left it late to complete a dramatic comeback from 2-0 down to 3-2 at Stamford Bridge. Bournemouth were 2-0 victors away to Wolves, while Everton salvaged a point with a stoppage time equaliser at the Amex. The late kick-off saw Liverpool thrash Newcastle 4-1 at Anfield to record their first win in 5. And in Spain, Barcelona moved 4 points clear of Real Madrid at the top of La Liga after a 3-1 win away at Elche. Barcelona went ahead inside 6 minutes when Dani Olmo played Lamine Yamal through on goal, and the 18-year-old rounded goalkeeper Inaki Pena to score his 13th goal of the season in all competitions. Alvaro Rodriguez then equalized for Elche in an end-to-end first half. Ferran Torres restored Barcelona's lead 5 minutes before the break, finishing off a move created by Frenkie de Jong. Hansi Flick's side added a third with 18 minutes remaining as Yamal's low cross was not cleared and Marcus Rashford was on hand to make it 3-1. That was how it finished, with Barcelona 4 points clear of Real Madrid, who still have a game in hand.
For the team, for the club, for everyone, it's good when he plays on the top level. I think he's young enough to improve, to have potential, to reach another level. I think it happens. I think it happens. So today was very important for us, for the team, but also the other players. So I normally speak about the team because it's important.
And some tennis news now, where the Australian Open men's final between Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz is underway. Alcaraz leads by 2-1 as the gripping contest is currently in the 4th set. Both players are chasing history. Alcaraz is aiming to become the youngest man to complete a career Grand Slam, while Djokovic is seeking to extend his record with a 25th Grand Slam title. And in the women's final on Saturday, Elena Rybakina produced a powerful finish to outclass world #1 Aryna Sabalenka and win the women's singles titles in Melbourne on Saturday. The Kazakh broke early and served well from there to take the first set, 6-4. However, Sabalenka, a 2-time champion in Melbourne, found her rhythm in the game. In the second game, the 27-year-old went on to take it 6-4. Before racing to a 3-love lead in the decider. But that's as good as it got for the Belarusian, as Rybakina stormed back to win 6 of the last 7 games and claim her second major championship. She moves up to number 3 in the world.
Say thank you, of course, to you guys for such an incredible atmosphere. It was a battle, and honestly, your support kept us going. And thank you so much to Kazakhstan. I felt the support from that corner a lot, and yeah, thank you everyone who made this tournament possible. Tennis Australia, Craig, of course, for making us feel so well here, and it's a really happy slam, and I always enjoy coming here and playing in front of you guys.
And that is it for this edition of Africa Live. Remember, you can send your feedback to the contacts on your screen and follow us on our digital media platform. Thank you for watching. I'm Beatrice Marshall in Nairobi. From me and the team here on Africa Live, bye-bye and take care.